Oh, it looks like Rachel's in the call.
Is she?
It says it up. It says her name up. Oh, maybe did you add her, Casey, and is just waiting to get her in there?
Yeah, she wasn't there yet.
Come on.
I'm not able to find a lot on the writers and director. I just wanted to keep that in mind as like a sort of maybe question mark possibility.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody have Jason's phone number?
Nope.
I don't, but there's Slack.
You could DM him on Slack and just ask if he's got any info. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Nice. Every time Eric bangs around, it just pops up his Halloween Kills background.
It's a good background. Yeah, I can't find anything about his personal life.
I'm
The director.
messaging Jason real quick to see. I think he might have sent Eric in the interview he did, but I'm not totally sure.
Oh, nice.
Okay, we'll see what he says.
Awesome.
I love Jason. He's so cool.
Yeah, that podcast is really entertaining.
Casey was on.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I haven't listened to that one yet. I'll have to go back.
They're a good crew.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff with Jody's daughter blows my mind. That's pretty awesome.
It's so cool. Like, first of all, her hair looks amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like to win gold medals in Austria, like what the hell?
Oh, wow.
I do. Yeah.
She's a badass.
All right, I'm gonna turn my testing. Yeah, I'm gonna turn my mic up just a little bit. How do I sound now?
Sound good to me.
Yeah, you sound good.
Yeah.
Testing.
Rachel says she'll be on in just a sec.
Okay. Testing.
That fierce
1, 2,
look
3.
that Elise gets too is awesome.
1, 2,
Those
3.
pictures
Testing.
that Jody shared.
Casey, hold on 1 second. Testing. 1, 2, 3. All right. Ariel, can you say something?
Hello. Hi, guys.
Okay, I think we're pretty good. Thank you.
Am I loud enough?
Yes. Yeah, you guys.
Okay.
I heard back from Jason, and he said yes, he's Jewish. That was very intentional. So, like
Interesting.
the girl being named Anne and everything. So
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it had to have been intentional.
Yeah,
Well,
pretty for
definitely, but with it being a Jewish writer, it colors it a little bit better.
Yeah, it does. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Cool. There she is.
Hi. Late
Hi.
as always.
You look amazing. Every time
Aw.
I see, she just like Rachel
know.
pops up looking like $1,000,000.
Shut up.
She does always.
She does.
Shut
It's
up.
annoying.
Shut up.
I did not shower today. I
Well, not all
Man,
can be a
things-
natural beauty like you, Caitlin. Don't rub it in.
I had to get a biopsy on my chest, and there's like I must be allergic to the adhesive around the bandages because there's like a big halo of red,
Oh no.
like gross skin, and I'm like, cool, this will look good for this weekend's wedding.
Did-
They're like cleavage on fire.
Did this
Send
movie
your
trigger you?
selfies.
What's that?
Did this movie trigger you? That was my first thought in that scene towards the end of
No,
your
Malignant
story.
did though.
Well,
She's
here we
still
go.
salty about Malignant.
Always, forever.
Yeah, as soon as that scene started and he started cutting his tattoo off, that was the first thing my mind jumped was that was, oh God, I hope
Oh,
Caitlin's
I
okay.
forgot. Okay, we can
I'm
talk.
someone who has tit trauma.
We can talk about that. Scene.
What's up, Eric?
Oh no, I just had forgot about that. We can talk about it. I have a lot of
Yeah.
thoughts about that scene.
Oh, and Rachel, we just found out that the director is Jewish.
Yeah, I didn't know the director was, but I was reading interviews with the writer, and he was like, "Yeah, I think my Hebrew teacher will be mad at me," and I was like, "Yeah, I think he will."
Yeah, Jason from Dads from the Crypt interviewed him, and I don't think it's come out yet because I think it was a podcast interview. But hey, Jason is in a Jewish community, and I was like, huh, I wonder if. And he was like, yeah, that was all intentional.
Kaylin, can you
So-
make a note to mention that he asked me if I could mention it in the show, and I said yes, but I asked him to send me an email, and I don't think he did. Although I'm gonna check
Okay.
right now, just in case I
Gotcha.
forget. Like when we do fan mail, or if it comes up just like naturally. In
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
review.
I've got my word of the day, Eric. I'm prepared.
Love it. I had endeavored to have new music, like new show music, ready today, but it didn't happen.
You've been busy this
I
week.
have been, yes.
You seem a little tired, Eric.
I'm very tired.
Oh.
Ariel.
Oh, cute. Awesome.
Ariel
I
got me
missed
this
it.
Love Witch cup for my birthday.
Oh,
That movie's kind of cool. I didn't.
Yep.
I didn't
That's really
finish it.
We're
Cool.
fans.
I didn't finish
Yeah.
it. I watched it when Joe Bob did it, but I was like, as I was falling asleep, I was like, this seems really cool.
You didn't finish it?
It's real hard for me to go back to those last drive-ins when I fall asleep. Like
Mm-hmm.
the only one I recently went back to was they did Halloween. Is that what it was called? It's like some real. Did you see it? It's like some real bad B movie. It was like a Indian producer wanted to make like an American style horror film.
Amazing.
And so it's just like all that filtered through like this. I don't know. It was wild. It's pretty cool. So I was like,
Have you guys
I gotta
watched-
see.
Have you guys watched Prisoners of the Ghostland yet? The new Nick Cage joint?
No.
I got it queued up. I can't
No.
wait.
Ah, I think you're gonna have a similar experience
Yeah.
through Japanese
Okay.
culture. And
That's-
I will say, watching this back to back with that, like I was like, ooh, narrative structure. So it to some degree it like benefited this movie. So I don't know what that tells you about Prisoners of Ghostland, but be forewarned.
Yeah, I figured I was watching that solely because it's Nick Cage and the cover.
Yeah. The Bill Moseley of it is also pretty enjoyable.
Nice.
the Bill Moseley of it all.
Yeah.
Eric, Jason said, he said, yes, the writer and I talked about it Jew to Jew. You can quote me and say that this movie is a mixture between American History X, House of a Thousand Corpses, and Inglourious Bastards. So,
Sure.
Huh.
Sure.
I love the humility of that statement.
yeah. My favorite thing is the subtlety. I love it.
Yeah.
When I think of that, I actually have a story about like exactly that thing. When I whenever My Bloody Valentine 3D came out, at the time I was still writing for Horror Hound magazine, and I got to interview what was his name? Who directed that? He's a Canadian. Oh, Patrick Lussier or something. He's done work in some other horror series. I'm trying to remember. I think he edited Scream 3 or something like that. This was like one of his first
Sounds familiar.
This was one of his first like directed movies. So I did an interview with him, and I was just like, it was cool. It was like a bigger thing to get to cover, so I was like pretty into it. And he described it as Scream meets Twin Peaks.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, that sounds amazing. Like, yeah, of course. Like, that sounds great. And then I saw it and I was like, I mean, this movie is Scream meets Twin Peaks in the same way that like a seltzer tastes like a thing. Like, technically, I understand what you're saying. But
It's
like,
written that way on
come
the
on.
label.
And ever since then, it just like, I'm now immune to any statement like that before I actually see a thing.
Yeah.
Because
Eric.
imagine having heard that and then watching this movie.
Do you need me to bring up your end of year list or no?
I think we're safe. I think we're good.
Okay. Keeping my screen nice and clean here.
You know what I have seen now, while Elizabeth was here, we watched Jennifer's Body, which I'd never seen before.
Really?
It's real good.
It's an important one.
Turns out it's good.
That
It
was
is.
back in the days of BG. We covered that in the days when Eric didn't always see the movie.
Did we cover it?
Yeah,
I don't know.
pretty sure we did.
It's been one of my favorite plug it ups for sure.
Just glad its time has come.
Mhm.
Everybody's
Me too.
realized.
I don't think we did, Casey.
I thought it's for sure we did.
Casey, that's a really good background.
It is. I love it.
I like it a lot.
Caitlin, that kind of blew my mind to see that the Slumber Party Massacre remake was already coming out.
What timing? I mean,
I know. I can't
incredible.
Just kidding, Casey. Episode 90.
wait. I thought so.
Here's a wild one. It was just me, you, and Mark.
So only Mark and I saw it.
Apparently, because I did not. I distinctly remember like that was like a shame pile one that I hadn't seen. That's super interesting.
That movie's aged better than when it was in the theater, I think.
It was just marketed really wrong at the
Well,
Yeah.
time.
But even
So-
but even then, like we were talking about it while I was on. It's like pretty ahead of its time.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah,
like
dude.
I think part of it is there was an oversaturation of Diablo Cody. I feel like I'm like a big Juno fan, but I feel like there was a little bit of resistance from like some subsections of horror, the louder subsections of horror fans, I think, to her like making a horror movie. And like
Yeah.
but I think
It was just
that style now does not feel, it feels very just, it fits in very well with a lot of the kind of stuff that gets made today, whereas I think it just was really different at the time.
Yeah, and I
It's
think
also
the society's changed some since then too. Sorry to cut you off.
No.
That's- I think the society's changed. That's made it a little more.
That's what I
poignant to-
mean. But well, it's just that even like the tone, the messaging, the like dialogue, like it all was pretty ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was like a shit ton of gatekeeping around Diablo Cody as a horror fan too. Like the
Yeah.
idea that this broad had the cajones to come and make a
Well, that's what
horror
I
movie.
mean.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
boy stuff.
Exactly. Like there's a whole, like horror feels much more like a big tent now than it did at the time. Like there are way more,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. There was a lot more gatekeeping in general back then.
yes, that's what I mean.
Well,
Not that it doesn't
I-
still happen, but
on the post I did on Instagram, I talked about it being like a big movie for bi people, which like, hi, and also Colleen, and also Diablo Cody, and also Megan Fox, and this guy commented, "I think it's the straightest movie I've ever seen," and I was like, okay, well, cool. I'm glad I did all this work. Asshole, for you to be like, I don't think so. I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, it's only like 50
Typical.
interviews about that, but fine.
You're like, it's only my lived experience, but okay,
Yeah.
great.
I kept telling Colleen, I was like, wasn't it so straight when you dated Clara? Like, wasn't that was like the straightest thing you ever did? It was so straight when you were bi.
So Rachel, I have a little bit of delay on your video / audio.
I'm
Can't-
plugged into the. I'm like hardwired
No,
in.
it may just be a Skype thing. Can you just drop off the call and then just wait
Mhm.
a second, and then Casey, you add her back in once like she's out of the call?
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Thank you.
Bye forever.
Bye. Can you guys hear this? I might have accidentally turned this up, so I'm gonna try to turn it back down.
Welcome to Bloody Good Horror.
Oh. I think I decided I'm gonna watch Halloween streaming.
You what?
You're gonna watch
I
what?
think I'm gonna stream Halloween Kills instead of going to the theater.
I have to take this call. Yeah, I'm checking all my network goodness. Yeah, it says the Ethernet.
Okay.
Nice
Just
Ethernet.
I have no video currently.
JK. Is that any better?
Still delayed, but there doesn't seem to be like say something.
Something.
Yeah, so there's no like delay in you responding, which is fine. I'm just gonna not look at you until like because it's
Yeah.
like the delay
Our
is
audio and video are out of
the
sync.
video's messing me up, but the audio like there's no you are hearing me in real time. It seems, which is good.
I have a very rare syndrome where I speak and then my body moves.
Throwing
So
your voice.
I don't actually appreciate the erasure. That's
I'm very sorry.
Very hurtful. There.
very hurtful.
I'll do my best to
audio
make you feel visible.
Just let me. You just have to close my.
Let me just take a couple quick notes. Let's see.
No, my audio is fine. It's my video that's slow. No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Sorry, IT in the background is chiming in.
Caitlin, after the show, can you hang out for a minute? I just want to chat about Zoom party stuff.
I'm in trouble. Yeah,
No.
I'll stick around.
No, you're not. No, I've just been in a hole for a week, so I want to check in and get some planning done.
Have you now?
I see what you did there.
He set it up. let's
Like
be
a joke.
Cool. All right. I am ready if anybody would like to mute. Stand by.
Welcome to Bloody Good Horror.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror, the first episode of October 2021. By the time it hits, Caitlin, I saw the confusion in your eyes there for a second.
Yeah, I was struggling.
Oh.
Thank you.
Tonight, we are going to be reviewing an indie film, a pretty indie film for a change. This is called Stay Out of the Attic, also known as, AKA, Stay Out of the Fudging Attic. Some of the
That's exactly it.
some of the versions use a naughty word, Caitlin, but We won't say on this show, okay? Just so people understand. Joining me tonight, first up from Indiana, please welcome Casey.
Hello.
From Richmond, Virginia, please welcome Caitlin.
Hi.
Next up, we have, what a pleasure this evening, not one, but two zombie girls with a Z. First up, from the bucolic Pacific Northwest, please welcome Ariel to the show.
Hi.
I've got this whole vision in my mind of like lumberjacks and like coffee shops.
People do dress like lumberjacks. I've never
Right.
seen anyone cut down a tree, but they all wear plaid and flannel.
I love it. It's the song of my people. Next up, joining us tonight, rounding out the show from, I believe, California.
That is correct.
I don't know.
No lumberjacks.
I don't
but,
know why I said it with a
love-
southern accent, but here we are. Please welcome Rachel to the show.
Hello,
California.
California.
Isn't like the Bay Area, Rachel? Is that where you're coming to us? this
Yeah.
evening?
Yep. I am from right in the middle of the Bay Area. Not the state of Jefferson, which is Northern California.
That's really cool, which doesn't surprise me about you that you live in a cool place. Are you from that area originally?
Yeah, I grew up here.
Wow.
So I am a Bay Area native.
West Coast people, man.
Yeah.
You guys are like unicorns to me. I don't get to meet very many. It's exciting. All right. Let's do it. Let's jump right in here and review Stay Out of the Attic.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time. Main feature.
Caitlin.
Eric.
I'd love to know the story behind like the stay out of the fucking attic versus the attic, and like did they name it that originally because it was like an indie movie, and then they were like, oh wait, we have to sell this, we can't do this.
I like that the poster has like a blood splatter on some versions over the fucking part.
Well, what's interesting is that so on Shudder, the expletive is there, but it's got like an asterisk in it or something.
Mm.
But you can search "Stay Out of the Attic" and this movie will come up. So it's interesting.
I like the brackets around the expletive. It's my favorite version.
It's an interesting thing about words. That's what we're discussing right now, Caitlin. Since Mr. Schnars is out,
He is.
please bring us the word of the day.
Eric, the word of the day is serum,
Ooh.
coming from the Latin serum,
Love it.
which originally meant whey. But in this scenario, it also can be like a cosmetic, but in this scenario, we're taking the definition to mean an amber-colored, protein-rich liquid that separates out when blood coagulates.
Ooh.
Ooh.
What percentage of serums are made from eyeball goo?
Oh, no.
Only the best
It's like
ones.
horse urea. That's in every cosmetic, and apparently eyeball goo for this movie. So
Interesting. Like pee? Like that's what you're telling me right now?
that's what I always hear, because that's what people always talk about. Like, oh, this
Wow.
and that makeup has horse urine in it or something. This could be wrong.
That's intense.
I only use
I
horse
didn't go to
urine free
Duke
products.
I did not know that.
Suddenly want to go down an internet rabbit hole to find out how they source horse urine. Because you need a lot of it, right? So there's got to be a whole thing.
I
Have
imagine
you ever
there's
seen a horse pee?
Operation.
A whole
Yeah.
horse urine operation, right? But you got to capture it. You got, I mean, that in itself is a lot.
Eric, I think your movie theater has the.
They just vacuum up the floor of the bathroom in that theater that I used to go to. Close enough. Yeah. These people are basically animals anyway, so let's just take this pee and can't pee in the urinal. Man, I forgot about that.
You're welcome.
I've been to this theater here once. The bathroom seemed okay. Not too much urine, just the right amount of urine. I felt like.
Hopefully in the right spot.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want it all over the floor.
Right. All right, Caitlin. Why don't you tell us what Stay Out of the Attic is about?
Yeah, so Stay Out of the Attic, technically a 2020 release, is about a group of second chance movers. So we've got Albert Schillinger, I think they call him Shill through the movie, Imani and Carlos, and they are movers who have a bit of a criminal past and are getting their second chance in this moving career. And they are moving the furniture out of the house of one Vern Mueller. And he instructs them to stay out of the attic and out of the basement. And some creepy things start to happen. And he has signs of being a suspicious older German gentleman with secrets.
Something about that dude, he looked to me like he kind of reminded me of fake old Guy Ritchie in Prometheus. Like
Yes.
he was
Oh,
kind of like
huh.
he was kind of like bootleg old Guy Ritchie.
Yes.
The movie would have been 100% better if Guy Ritchie was in it. It would have been pretty sweet. Love it. Thank you. Caitlin, let's jump right in here. Rachel, what did you think of your time in the attic?
Okay. So going into this, I had like really low expectations, like really low. I was telling you before the show, I had just watched another movie that had set my expectations nice and low. So I think my initial viewing of this benefited from having that kind of expectation going on. You know, it had some fun, gory moments. I laughed a couple of times. And I just kind of like approach these movies a little bit more gently because, you know, like indie movies have limited budgets. There's things like that, right? However, as I stepped away from this more, and I think a lot of it came as a result of our conversations because I was just sort of like processing it still, was that I don't think that it's sitting with me that well. I think we'll get into a lot of the reasons why when we get into more spoilery territory, but I just think this is not a movie that sits well after 2016 in the way that it is particularly executed, we'll say. And it's kind of a shame because I think it flirts with some really interesting ideas, but it doesn't necessarily go there. And instead it abandons it for a very particular brand of exploitation. And yeah, so overall, it has some things that I liked about it, but I don't know. It didn't totally work for me.
Casey?
This is I try to be kind to movies that come from this idea, from this angle. These are low budget movies that are coming from new filmmakers that are trying new things and finding their start. There's good parts of this movie in here. There's some strong ideas. There's fun with the effects and the gore and things like that. For me, it gets stretched out too much and it starts to run a little slow because I have a hard time connecting to any of the characters. So it's hard to really root for anybody. And after a while, it's just kind of like, yeah, whatever, let's get to the end and hoping for it. But there is good elements in there. Overall, though, as a full package, it just didn't land for me.
Ariel?
Yeah, I think I feel much the same way. My expectations were fairly low and tempered because it's an indie film. And I did think that there were some genuinely fun moments here. We'll get into it, but there are some pretty fun practical effects. There are a couple of lines in this movie where I laughed out loud. Carlos and Imani, not all of their dialogue is well written, but I found them to be likable, the actors themselves. I think some of the acting, though, wasn't so great, and that detracted from the overall movie. And then, like Rachel was alluding to, there are some parts of this movie that are referencing the Holocaust in ways that made me deeply uncomfortable. And I think as we have a bigger conversation about it, maybe I'll feel differently at the end. But watching it, I was a little taken aback a couple times. Yeah.
Caitlin?
Yeah, this was this was a fun one, which is not a word I usually use for a Nazi movie, but it was definitely different. I did like Imani and Carlos; they were sort of the ones to root for in this.
I liked Imani.
Wow.
See, that was I said a positive thing. What? I don't.
Screw Carlos specifically. But I did like their back and forth, and I was very proud of myself which I shouldn't have been because it was like pretty well forecast, of calling the first twist of finding out who Vern is. And I actually did appreciate the second twist, which we can get into in spoilers, where we find out a little bit more about Shill's background. And when I say I like it, it was, I like the use of it. It's obviously sad and rough, but we can talk a little bit more about this later, but our buddy Jason from Dads from the Crypt got to interview the writer and producer for this, and he gave us some extra intel that was pretty cool. So that made it, accessible and approachable and a lot more fun. So
I'm dying to hear some like behind the scenes info, because I think there's probably some good tidbits in there just about kind of where they were coming from. I'm pretty on board with everybody else. This is not, it's interesting for us to cover. This is not a sort of like budget level of thing that we cover a lot. I would say we actually like self-select a lot of these movies out, unless we've heard like a lot of really amazing things about them. This was one we decided to take a chance on. I think something you guys are kind of touching on, it's like making, you could, I guess, call this an exploitation movie, because I think a lot of it kind of treads in being shocking. Like when you look at stuff like this, this like Siamese twin thing that shows, that's probably not the right word, but like, it's like let's call it malignant twins. It's really funny seeing this movie after, immediately after Malignant, and I gotta say, really ballsy for this budget to be like, yeah, we can just pull off another person hanging off that lady's back. Like, let's do it. But it's like it approaches. I see what it's doing. It is approaching the subjects it's dealing with in a way that feels very like 2007 or something. Like, it feels like a type of humor, satire, social commentary that almost feels a little outdated for the world we live in now. Like, it's dealing with movie Nazis in a way that we used to before we had to like really think about Nazis like every day. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's, it's super interesting, like finding out that the director and the writer were both Jewish. It's why I'd love to hear more about like, they're sort of where they were coming from with some of this stuff. Not everybody's going to know that, you know what I mean? Like going into the movie. So a lot of that stuff just feels a little weird. There's also some through lines like that don't feel totally like buttoned up together. There's some weird editing. Like there's a scene where, is it Carlos? Is that what the character's name is?
Yeah.
Like he sees the dude's SS tattoo, which is really funny because like typically when you're watching like some prison show or something and somebody has an SS tattoo, they're typically like, like an inch or two. They're usually like a smaller thing within a. This dude has like a 7-inch like SS tattoo. It's like a half sleeve like on his arm. Like you couldn't miss it. There's no like subtlety. But so Carlos sees it and he gets really upset, and we learn that like this is where we start getting the explanation of like, well, it was just a prison thing. I did it to like stay safe in prison. And we learned that I believe that like Amani knew about it, and they've sort of made peace with each other. But Carlos seems like he's done. Like he's over it. He hates this guy now. They're like mortal enemies. The next scene we see where they're interacting, it's like this scene didn't happen, and it was like really throwing me off. There's a scene where they're both like packing stuff in a room, and they're just chatting casually, like there's no. It makes me feel like that scene was shot later or was edited in an order it wasn't supposed to be. But at no point in the movie does the way Carlos acts towards the boss guy like honor that conversation that they had earlier. It's just like a subtle thing that really kind of threw me off. I also thought it was really funny. Like I was watching this with Elizabeth. We had this ongoing joke about how these are the worst movers in the world. Like at one point, we never see them moving anything short of like a tiny little montage in the beginning. But literally, they've been doing it all day. The sun is down, and they show the truck. There's like 4 things in the truck. And I'm like, you guys better hurry. Like they're like, I don't know if we can get it done by the morning. It's like, I don't know if you can get it done by the end of the week because you guys are slow. And the other thing that kind of was making me laugh, honestly, like I feel like this stuff was sort of like entertaining me about the movie, so it's not necessarily a complaint. But there's another funny thread where it's like they're seeing some weird shit that might be like kind of Nazi adjacent or whatever, but which certainly uncomfortable. Like that's not a thing you want to be but they're acting like they've already seen dead bodies before anything's really happened. They're like, I don't feel safe. We got to get out of here like right now. But like nothing's happened yet. And then it just goes to like, I mean, it goes to 11 at some point, but it was sort of making me laugh because at any point they could have just been like, they could have just left in the beginning. Like there's a great stretch of this movie where they could have just walked away.
Carlos wanted to.
Right. And they didn't. And like, it's funny when considered with how much the characters are freaking out for so long before they finally decide they're done. You know what I mean? I did enjoy the music, but I am a slut for synth music, so that's not that shocking. It's pretty subtle, but when they had these really kind of well-made cues that would like come in every once in a while. So yeah, I didn't love it. There's some things about the tone that I was just like in 2021 was like, I don't know how to take this.
Right.
And I think to Ariel's point, like there's definitely some fun low budget effects. The eye thing definitely got me. Although when Amani wakes up, I feel like her response to not having an eyeball was not enough.
Yeah, she was too happy.
She woke up and was like just going at the other guy like, I can't believe blah blah blah. And it's like, dude, you don't have an eye. Are we gonna like stop and acknowledge that for a minute? She just seems like kind of put out that I don't know.
The eyeball goo serum.
And I think that you could make an argument, I guess, that some of that stuff's supposed to be more campy, but I'm not sure that it necessarily lands. Didn't for me, at least, anyway.
Did any of y'all stick around through the credits?
I did, only because, well, I went back after I read your email and watched it. So that was kind of a fun little find.
Yeah, it was one that I'm really glad that I always like Google, like, should I stay through the credits? And this one was like, yeah, there's a post-credit scene and some, some stuff that happens during the credits and then one in the final scene. So I was like, oh, well, it does. I'm glad that it stuck
Is it
around.
spoilery? Do we have to wait a few minutes to say it?
Yeah.
We'll
I'm going to need to know about that mid-credit scene because I skipped right to the end.
I sure did too. I didn't know there was one.
Well, what are some of the
I was trying to pretend I had. But
what are some of the moments or kind of things that we liked here?
I could like you were talking about once we get into the attic and stuff and we uncover Anne, that was impressive FX work.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like it was largely practical too, so I thought that was kind of cool to go out there, and I would have liked to have seen more of that coming out of the attic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you do
great.
see the budget constraints too, though, where it's like there's a hint at like more sort of creations, but we really just see like 2, right? For most of the movie.
Yeah, and then some hands. And
there's
that's,
like
lots of hands at the end.
Yeah.
I probably like missed this part, but like I just kept referring to him as Dog Boy because he was like crawling on hands and knees.
His name is the Creeper, according to Wikipedia.
Wow. Okay. I like that. Yeah.
But and the 2 we got, like you said, there was hints that there were more, and the 2 we've got Anne, who was pretty cool, and then we've got the Creeper, who seemed ultimately kind of generic for this kind of a movie. It's kind of a creepy person kept in the dark for too long that's crawling around on all fours.
Mm-hmm.
If we would have got Anne and something of that caliber and that size, it would have been really exciting, and that's what I was hoping to see. And as we get towards the talk about the end of the movie and whatnot, that's kind of what I'd hoped we'd see more of after that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was hoping when those arms kept coming out, we were going to get like Goro Nazi, just like a 9-armed Nazi.
Right.
Goro's pretty cool.
Octa Nazi. I don't know. How would have been right?
Let's get into the crazy stuff.
Right. Wouldn't that be the bent of your experiments? Like more buff arms, better punching.
Yeah.
Well, I also like, I'll never turn down an opportunity to see a Nazi get pummeled. Like, fuck up Vern / you know who. If we're not going to spoil. Yeah.
There is something interesting about like the meeting of like, for lack of a better term, like old school Nazi with a sort of like, quote unquote reformed like neo-Nazi, like, because there's something so like weirdly opposite about those two. I don't know. I don't know. It's like an old thing and a new thing that kind of has something in common, but like couldn't be farther in some respects from each other. I don't know. I like that. I'm not sure that they landed that completely, but I'm a little intrigued by that idea.
Well, I think that's sort of one of the overall problems with the movie is that it starts to touch on things but doesn't go far enough. It just sort of skims the surface. It's the same with the idea that Imani, Shill, and Carlos are all people who have been in prison before. They've been incarcerated and have come out. And they sort of touch on a little bit where it's mentioned that Carlos and Imani would not have a job if not for this moving thing because they can't get hired. And yet Shill, the white neo-Nazi guy, was able to start a business himself, right? So it's like
Right.
it kind of touches on it. It just doesn't go any farther with it than that.
Now that
and
guy,
I think that's
his name
a
is
failing of it.
his name is
Oh,
Shill.
definitely.
Is that what we said?
I thought
Or
that's
shilling. Yeah,
I
they
th-
call him
think
shill.
I think if
Yeah.
you're gonna like give me that story of like a reformed neo-Nazi, like you got to give me at least. I'm not always gonna like advocate for like an info dump, but I need more information. If you're gonna like, I'm not
Yeah.
saying you can sell me on this, but you got to try a little hard. Like
right.
he just says, I'm not like that anymore. Like I don't do that. I'm not a Nazi. Like there's no. You got. I don't know, right? Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
Oh,
I need a plea. I
100%.
need more of a plea from him explaining why he had this change of heart and what he's doing. And like, if you want me to be behind him, which I felt like they did.
Well, there's really no character development to these characters.
Yeah.
I mean, like what Ariel's talking about, that's the exact problem. And since they took that route, we can't connect to any of them. So when stuff starts to go down, you're not like, oh, I hope Carlos makes it. It's like, well, sorry, Carlos.
Well, we get a touch of like an attempt at redemption because, I mean, it is kind of a blow. And at first you're like, okay, like he was trying to stay safe in prison. That still fucking sucks that he has an SS tattoo. And then we find out later that he had been a part of the Aryan Brotherhood prior to, like, you know, he held some rank that was enough for Vern to recognize that, like, you know, hey, one of
He
us.
was a leader. Yeah.
Right. And we do get sort of at the end, you know, he locks the door behind an escape moment so that he can stay there, take care of Vern, and then slice out his, you know, leadership tattoo, which is like an attempt at redemption because he's like, yeah, like a reckoning, or I'll have to pay the price or something. So it's like we do get a moment of trying for it, but it would have been nice to get a little bit more building to it.
I thought for me the like slicing of the tattoo thing was a little cheesy. For starters, like you can't do that. Like you're gonna pass out from the pain. First of all,
I mean, he was like, ow, ow.
I think a legit attempt something about explaining why he changed his heart and like why he's trying to do better. Like that would have gone a lot farther for me than this tattoo thing. Like honestly, I was just making a face like, come on, bro. Like it was just kind of a little eye rolly for me.
Yeah, I felt like the writers wanted the fact that he was dating Imani, a woman of color, to kind of do the heavy lifting that he had changed.
Oh wait,
And I think
were they dating?
Yeah, she said.
Yeah.
I
She said
didn't-
she called him her boo.
I didn't
yeah.
pick that up.
So
at
I
all.
think the problem with that also is just like because they only skim the surface in that way, what you
Yes.
end up is like kind of some pretty bad optics, right? Because if you watch that scene, what you end up seeing, because you haven't been on like kind of any sort of emotional journey with this character, is him looking kind of like a badass. And I personally don't need more footage of badass Nazis and their physical prowess and strength. You know, those are just like bad optics.
Right. I think we could have had a redemption story with him, but had one of the other characters sort of be more of the hero at the end of the day, and that might have gone over better for me.
Right.
Agree. It's not that hard to extrapolate that a Nazi officer cutting off his own tattoo isn't part of their thing, right? They could be a little I mean, to prove themselves and whatnot, like you were saying, Rachel, that could easily be misconstrued too, as far as that whole thing with that cutting it out.
Well, it's
that
like
could just be them showing their awesome purity and power, right?
It's like a
That's what I'm
super
saying.
Yeah, it's
Awful
not enough.
optics.
It's like a super overly aggressive like attempt at like redemption that could have been done like a little more gracefully or something, I think.
Right.
Also, you can't do that. That doesn't work that way. Sorry.
Eric's like, he's gonna get an infection.
Yeah.
It's not good.
This
I
is
was like,
what
this
happens.
is
You're gonna pump yourself up to do that, and you're gonna make one cut and be like, "Ow, I can't." Like nobody can fucking do that, dude.
And even if you happen to tough it out through slicing all the way around, that first time you grab a hold, you're like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah, no. You ever try to rip a Band-Aid off when it's got like 2 hairs in it? Like, I'm sorry. Shenanigans.
Ariel pointed out something that took. She pointed out that the girl in the attic is named Anne, which I didn't make the connection, but Ariel did because she's
because
good
they
and
only
smart.
really say her name once, but when I heard it, I was like, huh. I don't know about that. Also, I tutor my nephew in English, and we just got finished reading The Diary of Anne Frank and Night and stuff. So I've been very immersed in the Holocaust and the history and learning about Anne Frank. And so it felt a little icky to me, a little exploitative. And I think I sort of can maybe understand what the writer and the director were trying to do there, and kind of get that instant name recognition and maybe sympathy and understanding that this is a Jewish young woman. But it didn't feel good or okay.
Well, I think
to
that
me.
part of it is like it's a little hard to peg what the like tone is supposed to be. So certainly you could do some of these things and like crank the tone up to 11 in some ways, and like sure, still has the potential to offend some people, but like then you're doing something really bold and like just taking that chance. Like I think part of it is it was hard to read while watching it, like exactly the kind of lane I was in.
Yeah, I'd be very curious to hear that interview to know what the thought process was behind that, because like you were saying, these were Jewish people who created this movie, so maybe there's something that I'm missing here, you know?
That's what I was.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, I think that interview that Jason did will be really enlightening for sure. And Jason also mentioned that it's definitely supposed to be like a schlocky B-movie film, and like a lot of these notes and beats were really intentional, which I wouldn't have picked up on had I not known, and I'm glad, because it does color things a little bit better for me.
I mean, I think some of that too is like it has to do with actor delivery of some of these lines. Like,
yeah.
I also think having that context is great, but the vast majority of the audience is not going to have that context.
Oh, yeah, I think that's the problem.
I mean, I certainly like honor whatever their intentions were, but at the same time, when I'm critiquing it, I can only look at it as it's going to be perceived as a larger audience, right?
I mean, the real question is, why would you turn your bathroom into a gas chamber?
Or why wouldn't you?
Right? Well, if you're him, are we going to drop that spoiler alert here?
Like,
I think
what
people
if you
probably know at this point?
But like, what if you need to turn on the like vent in your bathroom and you hit the wrong switch?
Like well, he had to turn the master switch upstairs there to lock the whole thing down first, right?
It's got to be a master switch.
Still
yeah. I mean, the guys they were good engineers at the very least, right?
I like to think that he's going to find another house like this that's like ready to go with all these.
Well, he definitely, you know what he did was he hired the Saw abandoned factory engineers.
Yes.
That's what happened. Yeah, Caitlin, you want to just walk us through the twist here and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, so the reason we went with Serum for word of the day is because Vern happens to be Joseph Mengele, rejuvenated indefinitely by a serum that he used making he extracts some enzymes, I think, that come from the eye when someone is stimulated with intense fear, is supposed to be the shtick, right?
Science.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like Nazi Monsters Inc.
Oh my god.
But it is Joseph Mengele, the Nazi Dr. Bastard extraordinaire, still in the flesh. So
it was hard for me to swallow. Even with the serum discussion.
Wouldn't you just...
It's just kind of one of those things where, and I said it in the email, my eyes were kind of rolling so hard I got dizzy. It's like, oh, come on.
Wouldn't you...
that's why I didn't pick up on Anne.
Wouldn't you double up on the serum and just get younger?
You would think that he would have kept working at it and not left himself at that state, right?
His whole explanation about the enzymes or something, I'm like, you just picked a science word. That doesn't mean anything, what you're saying.
I like that it has to be from someone who is deeply afraid. I was like, Spooky science.
Could it be anything? Could it just be about like retirement, or does he need to be scaring me like in the moment? Like, because I'm afraid of lots of things. I would probably be a good specimen.
My tax bill's coming. Oh, God.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
I actually didn't call it right away, but I did put like this Mengele motherfucker in my notes, and then I was like,
There you go.
Well, it's like a
it's
double.
the one, the Mengele motherfucker.
It's like a double twist. Yeah. I'll tell you
See,
the
I
most.
was drawing one. I'm sorry, Eric. I was going to say I was doing this wasn't holding my attention. I was drawing while I was watching this and looked up, with that reveal, and then I missed parts of the serum stuff. So I spent the back half of this movie trying to, like, looking at Wikipedia and looking up Mengele, looking at the dates, getting the calculator out, and I'm like, wait a minute.
It's like this doesn't check out
I
at
ended
all.
up. That was the most interesting part. Was I ended up down a rabbit hole looking at stuff about all the Nazis that supposedly escaped to Brazil after World War II, because that's like one of the
Argentina and Chile. Yeah,
Argentina, right. That was the other one. Yeah, so like it was the most fascinating thing about this movie.
Yeah, that is a fascinating rabbit hole. I've fell down there myself.
Then I was down the rabbit hole of after the Civil War, there were a group of like people in Confederate states who moved down and founded a town in Brazil, and like. Now you go down there and they have like yearly like celebrations where they're all this like, but they're like, dude, you got to look it up. It's like
That is really upsetting.
they are ancestors of Confederates, right? But then like intermingled with like local population, but like, so they're just like locals down there now, but all of their symbology is all this like weird, antiquated, like American Confederate stuff. It's just like a town in Brazil.
Gross and grim, yes. Yikes.
Did you guys? I found myself thinking a lot about People Under the Stairs while I
Yes,
watched
I was
it.
going to say that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
I
I
did.
mean, because I think it mines some of the same sort of
Yeah.
anxieties about like fear of suburbia and your neighbors that I think we're all having that lived experience lately.
That and crazy house shit.
Yeah, that's
Right.
also just being trapped in a house. I do feel like someone turned the master switch on 2 years ago, and I'm like, open up.
I did get a lot of that vibe from it.
But yeah, the thing I appreciated more so with People Under the Stairs, like it leaned all the way into the politics of what it was getting after with like gentrification and the ties to white supremacy, whereas this one just kind of used the tropes as opposed to like really digging into. Again, what I thought, like, it flirted with really interesting ideas, but it just shied away from like actually going all
That's
the
such
way.
it's interesting you make that comparison, because I also don't like People Under the Stairs.
What?
Really?
That movie.
It
That's
had
a
a
classic.
similar, like when I watched it, like I watched it later, like not when I was a kid, and I remember being like,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm watching right now. What is this?
Oh, interesting. See, I think that movie is so much. It does a campy tone so much better because it's throughout the whole movie. But the other thing that People Under the Stairs, I think, does better as well is that the people under the stairs, you have compassion for them. And I think the movie itself has compassion for them, that they're these kids who have been tortured and locked away by these rich, wealthy white people. And in here, we know for a fact that these, quote unquote zombies that he's hiding are Jewish people that he's kidnapped from his neighborhood and tortured. But there is zero compassion for them in this movie.
No.
They're just faceless, nameless zombies, and that's it. We never really even see their faces except for the creeper guy.
Mm-hmm.
The creeper. All right. Would you recommend
Eric, before you go to the recommendations, I do have one other part I need to bring up.
Okay.
Joseph Mengele has been extending his life for years, and he was an evil dude, right? For sure. And he's,
Decidedly.
but also a very smart man, just unfortunately with evil purposes behind it. I got to think he's smart enough that in his hiding out in suburban America for however 70, 80 years, he is not going to be that bold to put a giant red Nazi door in his basement, because somebody's going to sneak down there no matter how much you tell them not to. Right?
Okay. Right. Why the Nazi door, A, and B, why the Nazi lock? Because that's one of the first things they see. They're like, boy, that's like a German lock. Like, bro, master locks cost like $5. Like, incognito should be the name of the game here.
I think it was sort of a test, right? To be able to read whether somebody was in the know and got the Nazi symbology.
That's fair.
Maybe?
Well, the padlock's fair.
Yeah, but
Doesn't
the Nazi
explain the
door is
basement
over the top.
From what I
You
know
have a
about
secret
Mangala,
door?
which is their last podcast on the left did a series on him, and it is fascinating and brutal and definitely worth your time. But I feel like it all tracks. Like,
Now, do you
pompous
know from
asshole,
listening to
shithead.
it?
That's true. He was arrogant.
Do you know from listening to it, was this a person that like disappeared after the war and was never found, or like is that
No,
part
we
of?
know he died in '85 or something. I
Didn't
think
he
somewhere in
drown?
the
I
80s.
think he drowned. Or
Oh, I
it's
thought
like,
he had a heart attack.
well, it's something on the beach or something that is like,
Yeah.
no, he deserved to suffer, and he just sort
Interesting.
of like had a death on the beach, and it's like, fuck that. Like, I would have
Yeah.
preferred that he got pummeled by movers of color. So
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
that's
kick to
a
the face
good
was.
scene.
But
And his
like,
face just exploded. It just went
was
splat.
at the same time, though, that striking red door in the basement, I just dumbfounds me because somebody's going to wander down there, regardless of who's in your house, and you tell them not to go down there. Somebody's going to get curious and wander down there. They're going to see a giant red door with the swastika on it. But at the same time, I did like how that they used that door to set up the end of this movie to where it's kind of sitting there and you don't really realize it at first that you haven't seen it open until he dies at the end. And so seeing that, I know we've said his name, the gentleman that ran the company,
Shill
standing up there and squaring up because you could see the alarm going off the door and getting ready to open. I was actually pretty excited about that because I was like, okay, well, we're going to get more crazy stuff coming from behind this door. So setting that up as, I thought it was a nice setup at the ending to try and get some more interest to do more of that. I thought kudos for that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely builds some tension there.
Yeah.
It's a wild sequel to Apt Pupil. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, it is.
I always think of a Monster Squad where the German is friendly. Okay. Would you recommend this movie, Rachel?
Nah, maybe watch Overlord ahead instead.
Oh, Overlord is cool. Caitlin.
I'm going to say yes. And with that, say that Jason said we could quote him and say that this movie is a mixture between American History X, House of a Thousand Corpses, and Inglourious Bastards. So I will say give it a go.
Ariel.
I don't think so. No. I didn't mean that to sound rude.
No, that
there's
delivery
so many movies out there.
that delivery
I think,
was
I
amazing.
think I take a pass.
Casey.
I don't mean this as a slam, but if you're into like the sci-fi originals, asylum type movies, then I'd say yes, go ahead and give it a shot.
Roasted.
Love it. I'm also gonna say no. That's gonna do it for the attic. Let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
It began in the outer reaches of the universe. They're coming! An alien war that spread throughout the galaxies. Now, the final battle has landed in the Browns' backyard. Critters. Check them out at a theater before they check you out at home. Critters. Rated PG-13.
Critters opening soon at a theater near you.
Greetings from Tromaville. This is Lloyd Kaufman, president of Troma Entertainment and creator of The Toxic Avenger. The Troma team likes to kick back and listen to Bloody Good Horror because Bloody Good Horror is the best television there is.
Send feedback to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or on Twitter using hashtag AskBGH. Join Patreon to get back episodes and much more. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
And we're back. Caitlin, mark it down. First appearance of Rachel's cat on the podcast.
Did you see me glitch out when he unplugged my computer? Is that what happened? Yep. Little sabotager. He was over here being sweet, and then he would like grabbed it with his teeth and would not let go.
Noting it in the document officially. Historical significance. Rachel, what's your cat's name?
Fry. My other cat is Leela. Can you figure out the pattern?
Very nice. And Fry is orange, for those of you at home.
Yeah. He heard it was spooky season, so his Halloween cat ass had to come in here and cause some trouble.
Some things coming up here at Bloody Good Horror. October 15th, BGH 5K. Run it, walk it, scoot it, don't care. Track it with your apps. Send it in on social media with the hashtag BGH 5K. We'll share everything from people who run it, and we'll track the winners, and whoever can beat John, you're my hero. So let's try to make it happen.
Scoot it was my favorite part of that.
Scoot.
Yeah.
You can choose how to interpret that. Next up, October 24th, Saturday, October 24th, 9 p.m. Eastern, the BGH annual October Zoom-tacular. We are working on prizes. Caitlin has already got the door prizes, we're going to call them, ready. This
I've
is
got
stuff.
some good prizes.
This is stuff
yeah.
you could win just for being there. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool. They're themed because Caitlin's amazing. And,
Went a little hard at Home Goods. Got myself some cool theme packs, but yeah, I think we said door prize, trivia prize, costume contest prize,
yeah.
and all kinds of other stuff. So
yeah. So check that out. All you have to do to attend is be a patron, patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror, any level, and get yourself an invitation. We'll send out that link a couple days before. So there you go. Info@bloodygoodhorror.com. We got 2 emails from Caitlin and Kissimmee. Long time. She says, I finished all the episodes, so I'm starting again. Episode 15. Casey's about to turn 30. Sorry, Casey.
Holy crap.
Well, but then she writes back. She wrote back, let's see, that was 9:19 a.m., 9:29 a.m. She wrote back, stand down. Casey, you were 33. Eric asked how 30 was.
Still bad.
Still. So it's such a spring chicken, Casey. Like, that's wild.
I know. As of this recording, I'm 47.
That's crazy, dude. Time is a flat circle.
Yeah.
Casey,
I wish then I could start over instead of just getting older.
Casey, what do we have on Twitter tonight?
All right. We've got 2 tweets hanging out there tonight. If you've got questions, hit us up. Hashtag AskBGH. First comes up with old friend @Skizbot. It's cider mill season, baby. What's your favorite kind of donut? Or, for Eric, what used to be your favorite back when you could eat wheats and grains and things that tasted good?
Man, I like a good maple frosted donut from Dunkin' Donuts. Those are pretty good.
Yeah.
Or like the strawberry frosted. That's my jam.
shout out Darren. Darren and I have bonded over Boston cream donuts.
They're good.
Yeah, Boston cream's the jam.
You know what I love is a good Boston cream donut hole from Dunkin' Donuts. Just give me like.
You also love a good Darren, don't you?
I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't love Darren? But I think I'd rather get like 40 Boston cream donut holes than have like a. Yeah, I don't know why.
It's the principle.
Yeah.
It's the principle.
It's like a surface area thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's got to be a chocolate buttermilk bar.
Ooh, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like some
Nice.
fancy West Coast donut.
Yes, it has very liberal politics.
It went to a Montessori school.
It sounds,
Yes.
yeah. It sounds like some kind of woke donut to me.
It's very NIMBY. Yeah.
Love it.
All I'll say is I thought donuts were getting out of hand when you were getting the big chunks of candy and Oreos and whatnot sprinkled all over the top. And I thought like the bacon ones, like there's no way until I had one. And then I'm like, oh, yes, it works.
Yeah, they are good.
I don't know. I like just a glazed old fashioned. It's kind of boring, but I love those.
Like a cruller? Is that the same
Like the
family?
circular ones that
Oh.
are, yeah, that are like lumpy on top.
Yeah, those are good.
There's like the yeast donuts and the cake donuts too, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a place in downtown Indy that sells geese donuts and Taylor's, I believe, and it's like someplace you only get if you happen to be down there. But they are amazing.
I will say
they're just plain glazed.
There's a really good place in where was that? Portland, Maine? No, where was I? Oh, I forget. Somewhere in New Hampshire, it actually is. There's a place that makes potato donuts, so they're gluten-free and they're real good.
Cool.
Portsmouth, New Hampshire. That's what it is.
All right. Our other tweet tonight comes from Alex Jones. Any of you ever work a haunted house? I did. I got punched a lot, but I also chased those little assholes after and had dads want to fight me.
Man, I had a year or two where I was really wanted to, but my social anxiety got the better of me.
There's a haunt group here in Richmond called Red Vein, and although I love horror on screen and in a book, I don't do well with being in an environment that is scary, especially with the physical stuff. But I do their craft fair every year. So while I don't work the haunt, I work in the barn as selling spooky wares to the good people who go through the haunt.
Yeah, I never actually worked in an actual haunted house, but I have enjoyed the hell scaring kids out in the front yard trick or treating.
Yeah, I mean Casey basically.
That's my favorite pastime.
Casey does this. Casey does this every year. Dresses up scary and scares kids.
That's awesome.
I wonder if this is why my childhood desire to do this is why I love Hell House LLC so much.
Yeah,
it's like behind the
scenes.
I
watched it the other day. Eric thought of you.
It's so fucking good.
The director's cut or whatever. There's a director's cut out there.
I've never seen it because generally I think director's cuts are trash. I used to think differently, but now what I see is director's cut is cool. Let's put in all the bloat we cut out to make this a better movie.
Fair.
Yeah. Where is the lie?
Hot takes.
It used to be because if you grew up in the 90s, what director's cut meant was, with horror in particular, here's all the gore the MPA cut out, we put it back in.
Yeah.
And that I feel like that was the genesis of a lot of horror fans' love of the idea of a director's cut. That is not at all what that means now. There is nothing worse than the director's cut of a comedy. Comedy director's cuts are fucking trash. I will accidentally stream one every once in a while. I'd just be offended and turn it off because they're so bad.
The Alex Jones does go on to say, though, speaking of the haunted house that they worked in, Conan O'Brien sent camera crew to film our little attraction for a segment. I'm in it as Leatherface. I'm basically a celebrity. Which is pretty
That's
cool.
Really cool. Want to touch the hem of his tweet?
Yeah. That's it for tweets.
Ariel, how is it not getting trolled during the tweets? I feel pretty good.
That was well done, Rachel.
You missed it. You missed it, Rachel. When she was telling us what her birthday, I asked her what it was like to turn 60. It's for you.
Sure did.
All right. Every Tuesday on Instagram, I answer questions. Even if I forget to post until Tuesday night, I still answer them. It's whenever I have Monday off. It's a whole thing. Anyway, I did get to it. This person apparently doesn't know Joe isn't still around because he said still listening to Fish, which that can't be directed at me. I worked with a dude once though who followed Fish religiously.
They have some acolytes that really follow the tour. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend that's about that Fish life. We get along about just about everything else.
More looking forward to Halloween Kills or Titan. I don't know what Titan.
That's tough.
Do you guys want to tell me what Titan is?
It's the new one from the director that did Raw.
Julia
the French
Ducournau.
movie.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a basic bitch, so I'm gonna say Halloween Kills.
Yeah.
Titan.
I'm curious for Titan, but I'm excited for Halloween Kills.
Yeah.
This question is for not me. Read any good books lately?
Eric.
I can tell you about the last book I read, Caitlin, but it's not fiction and it's not horror, and everyone's eyes will glaze over if I tell them.
Oh,
so.
I almost exclusively read nonfiction now. Like, I don't have any good novel recommendations for anyone.
I also read literature and nonfiction.
Like,
definitely not young adult.
4 years ago,
Young
I
adult fiction rules.
like whenever Annihilation came out, I read that trilogy, and it's really good.
Wow.
So there you go. When did that happen? 2019 or 2018 or something?
I'm currently reading Foundation, which is not spooky at all, but it's a great book. So
I'm in the middle of listening to the audiobook of the Final Girl Support Group because people kept
nice.
recommending it.
I heard that's really good.
that's on my Kindle.
I'm not enjoying it as much as everybody else seemed to. I'm a little weird about it because everybody's like, it's so good. And I'm like, I don't get it. I hate all the characters.
That's okay.
It is a really good time, though, to promote the BGH Book Club. Check out reddit.com. It's our BGH Book Club. Or you can also, there's a button on bloodygoodhorror.com, and there's also there is also a page for it on Slack.
Yeah, you can find Alyssa. She'll
It
hook
is
you up.
very well curated. So check that out. Next up, Sci-Fi is doing a remake of Slumber Party Massacre. What the hell?
Hell yeah.
Some buzz as of yesterday. Some good buzz
Yeah.
starting to come out of that. Yeah, there were some screenings.
Casey joined me last week to record a Plug It Up on Slumber Party Massacre.
Yeah,
Oh,
we had a
that's
good
so
time.
great. I can't wait to hear
Yeah.
that.
On the new
In
one
a-
or the OG?
In a short 6 weeks, you'll get to hear it. I'm like very ahead of schedule.
In the new one or the original?
The original.
Oh,
the
okay,
original.
cool. Yeah, I love the
We
original.
may hear
It's
it
real good.
before I turn 50.
Fun fact, I saw some
The
story
new one is
lately.
being directed by a woman and written by a woman, so Rachel and I are particularly excited about it.
Yeah.
Nice. So
The original was
so was
written
the
as
original.
a feminist parody of horror.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
Ida Mae Brown. Also
The-
famous for her cat mysteries.
The original is really one of those rare things that like works both as satire and as like a just really great example of the thing it's satiring. Like it's that level of put together. I read an article lately because he mentioned sci-fi here that it was like a poll of like people under a certain age, like how do you spell the shortened version of science fiction? And the majority of people spell it
Don't.
Siffy. Like
No.
S-Y-F-Y.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Really?
They changed the
Really?
lexicon, you guys. Like,
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Not just for the channel, but for the genre in
right.
general.
Yes.
Says Mr. Hyphy
Weird.
here.
Oh, God. Watch me like mummify in real time and blow away in the dark.
Shuffle off this mortal coil.
I don't want to be on this planet anymore if it's Sippy now. Take me, Lord.
Sippy planet.
What
Yeah,
non...
my niece sent me a TikTok where this woman had found in a thrift shop a jacket that had a Marlboro symbol on it. And she was talking about how she was so shocked that this was a thing, and then went on some deep dive on the internet and discovered that you used to be able to get gear by
Dude.
saving up your points.
I had
And everybody in the comments was just like, "What? This was a thing?" I'm like, "Oh fuck, I
Dude.
feel real old now."
I had a
Yeah,
friend.
that's too.
Exactly.
I had a friend in the 90s who was way into that. Like Marlboro specific. They had the whole catalog. You'd save your like points.
I had a
Crazy.
friend whose dad was real big into that, and he had like the entire wardrobe and everything, and you could smell it when you went over there.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I would imagine. What non-horror director would you most want to see direct a horror movie?
That's a good
I said Christopher Nolan. I think could be interesting. It's weird, like there's less of a stigma around horror these days. Like you see directors kind of like coming in and out of the genre more than you used to. So I actually had trouble like thinking of a director I like that's never done horror before.
Ari Aster keeps saying that he doesn't make horror movies, so I'd love to see him do a horror movie.
Yeah, put your money where your mouth is, Ari Aster. Quit with your bullshit. Fucking horror movie.
Just kidding, I
making
love you.
bro.
Huge fan.
You can't make movies that good and be like, they're not horror movies. Sorry. Yes, they are. I'm sorry.
This cult movie and this other cult movie, not horror, actually.
You're too good to not be ours. So you're ours now. Is anyone going to the Dracula and Frankenstein Fathom event? October 2nd. That's where they do these like one night events in theaters.
Right.
Is
Yeah.
this
I think at Universal Studios they also do a walkthrough of like sets or something. Because I know they're doing an Invisible Man, Wolfman one later in October.
I'm
that I
not gonna
really
lie,
want.
that era of cinema is like I'd rather see it in clip show form than actual form.
Cover your ears, Ariel. Cover your ears.
Sorry.
It's okay to be wrong, Eric.
It's listen, I can appreciate that some people can get down with it. I appreciate its historical importance.
Preach.
So annoying.
That's super funny. You know what I did watch though on the Elvira marathon the other night? I watched, was it House on Haunted Hill, right?
Yeah.
I had never
Yes.
seen. It was really good. I was pretty into it.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
That is like kind of a generation beyond that like original Universal stuff though, right? Because that was like
Yes.
early 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
We missed y'all on Friday on Slack for the Elvira special, or Saturday, I should
Yeah,
say.
were people
I didn't realize that.
messaging about it? Because I looked and I didn't see anything. Was
Yeah,
it,
we were all hanging out there during the thing live.
Was it in the watch and chat?
No, it was in Last Drive-In.
Oh, weird. Okay, yeah.
This is where Eric finds out he wasn't invited.
Yeah.
But no, it was really fun. I'm not gonna lie, I dig her like a more abbreviated format from the Joe Bob could stand to like have a time limit on his things.
We were the other Caitlin on Slack and I were chatting during the show. I believe it was the other Caitlin, but Elvira, they proved, especially in the later movies, that because she kind of changed formats as the movies got later in the night. Sorry, I didn't mean to send that brownie face.
That was amazing.
Sorry, I hurt your feelings. Take it back.
Casey just emoji bombed the video. That was pretty cool.
I'm passionate about Elvira, but she started coming in where she would just kind of like cut in the middle of a scene with like one-liners and riffing on the stuff like that, and that was a really good format for her. We were talking about they could easily MST3K Elvira on her couch in the lower right-hand corner of the screen and just let her rip on a movie.
There was something really jarring though, because like in the last drive-in, there's bumpers before they go to Joe Bob, but this is just smash cuts to Elvira, and it's like what? Like it takes you a second to kind of like. But yeah, no, I thought it was really great, and that's like the third or fourth time I've seen that first movie, her actual movie. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah,
the one
Mistress of the Dark.
Like because we did it 2020 at some point on the show because it was new to Shudder, and I've watched it a few times on Shudder TV since then. That movie is so good.
Yeah,
it is just so much fun.
Great.
So of its time in a really fascinating way. Okay. What's the scariest book you have read? I said maybe House of Leaves freaked me out the most.
Gotta read that. When I read it in high school, scared me so bad. My parents were out of town for like a month, and so I would have to go across the street and get the boy that lived across the street to come over while I took a shower because I didn't want to be alone. And I now realize those were probably some mixed signals. But I genuinely just didn't want to get Pennywise.
That's hilarious.
Funny.
Arguably more dangerous.
I did actually read most of Stephen King's Night Shift, and there's some short stories in that thing that are real scary.
Yeah. I think modern, if anybody has read anything by Ania Alborn, her book C, kind of like folklore-y. Did you read that?
Yeah.
It's good, right? And creepy.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh,
she's got a lot of good stuff out there. Some of them are creepier than others, but yeah, she's got a lot of good stuff out there. Myself, Laird Barron, I read a lot of Laird Barron short stories. He's got some pretty creepy stuff in there too that I've actually like set the book down, turn the light back on.
Writing that down. Laird Barron.
Oh yeah, I'll give you some recommendations on that, Rachel. You'd like
right into the DMs, sir.
As long as I'm bragging about that one time I read a book, the follow-up to Annihilation, I think it's I don't know if it's not Acceptance. I can't remember. Control maybe is what the name of the second book is, but the second book in the Southern Reach trilogy, very creepy.
It sounds like the 12 steps, like you're going through.
Dude, that whole it's just fucking brilliant. Like, as a person who has trouble like sustaining interest in finishing fiction, I could not put those books down. They are so good. Have y'all turned the corner on Malignant yet? How about Malignant Brain Baby Monster versus Brock Lesnar? Might be close. Because basically when that thing comes out, it's like a ninja.
That's true.
Yeah, but what about Malignant versus Anne
Versus, oh God.
from tonight's movie?
Oh.
And
I just think, like, is this a rule? Am I only allowed on shows where there's a parasitic twin?
And the front of Anne.
Am I a typecast?
Casey, though, is it the front of Anne or like the back person of like? Can it only be back people versus each other?
Well, that's what I was thinking, right? I mean, that's the perfect analogy.
Well, can Sarah, Anne's twin, talk through radios and shit?
Caitlin, still on. I love it.
Still mad.
Last question of the evening. Are any of you doing a 31 Days of Halloween movie challenge?
Our buddy Jody he does these awesome lists of 30 and 31 day movie challenges for horror throughout the year. And I know he's got one posted. So I think he's got a Facebook group and you can also find him on Slack, but he makes these awesome lists. And
I'll tell you what I have, Caitlin, for anybody who does a 31 days of, I have a question. How?
Hard.
How do you watch a movie every night? How do you sustain interest? How do you sustain?
Jody doesn't sleep.
Because here's my problem. This is just about the way my brain works. The second I lay out a gauntlet for myself, it is then homework, and then I don't want to do it ever. Like I don't think I'd make it to day 2. I think as soon as I was like, here's the expectation of myself, I would give up.
You got to be. I did it once like 10 years ago, and you really got to be jazzed up for it to get yourself to commit. So.
Yeah.
So Joe Ferry, he and I from Films at First Sight are collaboratively doing the 100 horror movies in 92 days challenge, but it has to be movies that are new to you. And I watch stuff that I've seen before constantly for the show, for Plug It Up, for all that kind of stuff. And Joe is so good about watching stuff that's new to him. So he is very much carrying the challenge.
So that's
the two of us.
multiple. So one,
Jody will just like not sleep and watch movies.
Joe is nocturnal. I think we covered this last week. And also, I have anxiety, and I like to watch things over and over that are comforting to me. So like
it's your comfort place.
It is very hard to get me to watch new things. I will get in a zone like that, and when I do it, I try to mainline as much new stuff as I can because I know it's going to be like fleeting.
Listen, it's American Horror Story season, What We Do in the Shadows season, Great British Bake Off season, and Midnight Mass. Like I have a lot of new shows to watch.
You know what? Great British Bake Off died to me when they changed the cast. I don't like the new cast.
Oh, you gotta hop back on.
Controversial.
Noel Fielding is my goth husband, and I love him.
I don't
very that.
I don't like any of the new people.
Eric,
sorry.
It's so.
I think this connects. Really like them now. This connects to the whole I don't watch new horror movies. I feel like we're getting a through line here.
I need like less shots of the new people and more just shots of random like goats or insects in the field. Like
my favorite, like
my sweet spot.
British Bake Off by transition is always a goat, and it says like bleeding in like bleat, not bleeding, but like bleeding in caption.
That's a different show.
Lamb coming out from A24 soon.
Oh my.
I am not doing a 31 days watch marathon thing this year, but I am going to do for the first time. I'm going to do Drawloween, which is drawing spooky stuff every day from prompts throughout the month.
So fun.
So
I love that. Thank you. Caitlin, you know what I'm doing? I just remembered this. I'm dropping some new music on October 15th, the day that Halloween Kills comes out.
Amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm working on my first ever like soundtrack project. It's basically a horror film soundtrack to a non-existent movie that I have the story to in my head.
That sounds interesting.
What I'm releasing is like a reprise version of the main theme. So it's like a fleshed out like main theme to this movie. So check out Hi-Fi, search Hi-Fi on Twitter, HY-FY, and you can get I'll be dropping today's the 29th. The day this show comes out, Monday the 4th, I think. Check out my Twitter. I'm gonna be dropping some artwork for it soon, and then, like I said, it'll drop on the Hi-Fi Spotify on October 15th, which is the day that
So
Halloween Kills
hi-fi
came out.
like sci-fi is what you're saying.
Yes.
There you go.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's very exciting. I'm a
While we're
fan.
doing plugs, we're actually doing
Yeah.
31 Days of Halloween on Zombie Girls. If people want to play along,
Oh, nice.
like every day we're going to put out we always do this every October, but this time we're doing like a choose your own adventure. So all of us have very different taste. So like you
yeah.
can pick which one you want to watch. I mean, obviously you'll pick mine, but you could watch something else.
Nice.
That is so organized. I love it.
Oh, if you could only see behind the scenes, you'd be far less impressed.
Eric likes a spreadsheet, I've come to find.
Yeah,
it's
you
true.
can find it at ZG Podcasts both on Twitter and Instagram.
Love it.
So there'll be like 4 recommendations for every day in October.
That's great. And if you want to find the Zombie Girls in your podcatcher, it's Zombie GRRLZ.
Yep.
So there you go.
For those, since we're plugging stuff here, Eric, I'm going to go ahead and throw mine out there. You can follow me on Instagram at cinema.fromage. If you've listened for a long time, you know I've used that name a lot in the past. But it's now at cinema.fromage. I'm selling stickers and T-shirts and stuff over there, just stuff I've been drawing and designing, and I post pretty much all artwork over there, and that's where Drawloween will be going. So feel free to follow me and say hi.
Love it. And Caitlin, what's going on? Plug it up this week.
Well, this week I released a really personal episode to me on Teeth, the classic vagina dentata movie. And it's been, it was one that was a little tough for me to release just in terms of nerves, but I'm really glad I did. I've gotten a lot of nice messages about it, and I'm sitting on a bunch of edits that I need to get done, and then those will release as well.
Love it. Sounds awesome. Check that out. Plug It Up, BGH production, out everywhere you get your podcast. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining me this evening. Spooky season is upon us. I don't know what we're doing this upcoming week, but I'm going to be rallying hard for some VHS 94 the week after that. So keep an eye out for that. And we will talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.